All the welterweight action, we break it down next. Please like and subscribe. Help us hit 10,000 subscribers. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Welcome to Friday Check Hook. The welterweight division, lots of big news coming out of it. What is perhaps the best division in the sport, or at least the most, call it, top-heavy division in the entire sport. Kell Brook may be fighting, may be coming to America for some big fights. Jesse Vargas, his name has been mentioned, but Jeff Horn's also been mentioned as a possible fight too. That wouldn't be in the U.S., but Eddie Hearn said that they're definitely looking to come to America to make some big fights. Keith Thurman is set to fight Josesito Lopez. We will get into that. Porter is set to fight Ugas in Carson, California. That's what used to be called the StubHub Center, famous boxing site, which has held some tremendous fights, especially in the welterweight division. Paul Williams versus Antonio Margarito comes to mind. Crawford and Khan, that fight is all set. If Danny Garcia can get past Adrian Granados, is he still relevant? Omar Figueroa, the forgotten one, has kind of been lost with all the noise his brother has been making and being inactive for the last 3 years or so. Omar Figueroa is making a comeback. He's got to fight against John Molina Jr. Is he still relevant? Is Omar Figueroa still relevant? He's the only man to stop Robert Guerrero, and he did destroy him. He knocked him down, I think, 872 or was it 871 times? It was a lot of times in that 3-round destruction of the former multi-division champ, Robert the Ghost Guerrero. So Omar Figueroa's got the goods. Former lightweight champ, can carry, obviously showed he can carry his power up to 47. That's not a problem, which he showed in destroying Guerrero. Lots going on. But let's start with this weekend's action. Like we said, 140. This entire episode is going to be dedicated to the welterweight division. It's 147 pounds. Keith Thurman, the WBA super champ, will fight for the first time in 2 years against Josesito Lopez. I'm going to give a little analysis of this fight. First off, there's been no bigger critic of Keith one-time Thurman than me. But I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. When Keith Thurman is in the ring, I give him all the credit in the world. It's that he fights once every year and a half is why I don't give him credit. And I think he's a pathological liar, and he's faked injuries, or at least the seriousness of the injuries, the extent of the injuries. But he's back in the ring, and that's good for boxing. He's fighting on free TV, so he's not a pay-per-view star or anything like that. But he'll fight Josesito Lopez, which is probably, I don't think he's a top 20 welterweight, but he's probably a top 30 or 40 welterweight. So, again, I'm not exactly sure why he's fighting Josesito Lopez. He says he's the best welterweight in the world. He said Terence Crawford, he doesn't respect Terence Crawford, so why not just fight Bud straight away if you don't respect him? He said he would fight Sean Porter straight away. Didn't do that either. He said he's fighting Josesito Lopez. So that's where we are right now. I think Lopez will offer up some resistance. Lopez is trained by Robert Garcia. I don't believe Robert Garcia will be there the night of the fight, but that may be changed. As of now, that's what is being reported, that Robert Garcia will not be there. But Robert Garcia will have him ready. He'll have him at his absolute 100% best, and he'll have the perfect game plan put together for Josesito Lopez. That being said, there are levels to this sport. And Keith Thurman is at least one, if not two levels above Josesito Lopez. And I like Josesito Lopez. He's a tough warrior. He's a tough out. He's tough for anyone. He's not easy. He's going to make you work. He's going to make you fight. That being said, Keith Thurman's on a different level. And I think Lopez will have some moments. He'll have some rounds. I think he'll I don't want to say hurt Keith Thurman because that might be a little bit much, but he'll catch his attention. He'll make Keith Thurman be in a fight. That's for sure. I'm ultimately saying that, the first couple rounds will be a feeling out process. As we get to the 4th, 5th, 6th round, there'll be a lot of combustion. By the 7th and 8th round, Keith Thurman will really start to break him down, use his legs. He has excellent legs. He'll dance around the ring. He'll keep Josesito Lopez off balance, keep him moving, and he'll fire that right hand and left hook in Lopez's face, and he'll finally break him down completely and stop him in the 9th. I think he'll drop him twice in the 9th round, giving him an official 9th round TKO. But that's how I see it. So my official prediction is Keith Thurman via 9th round TKO in a fight that, Lopez does okay in the middle rounds, maybe wins a round or two here or there. but ultimately it's dominated by Lopez, which is a fairly entertaining scrap, and Thurman gets a 9th round knockout, which I think would be his first knockout in like 4 years or something like that. You know, it's no longer one time, it's not run time or split decision time or show us the cards time. But yeah, I'm going to take Thurman by 9th round knockout in an entertaining but one-sided scrap. Then after that, Keith Thurman says he wants to fight Manny Pacquiao. Well, I'm with that fight. I think that would be an excellent fight. I want to get into that because I don't think that it's realistic for 2 reasons. One, each guy only fights once a year. Okay, Keith Thurman doesn't even fight once a year, right? He fought once in 2016, once in 2017, not at all in 2018. So, in all seriousness, what are the odds of him fighting twice in 6 months or twice in a year? Like, it's probably not going to happen. He hasn't fought twice in a year since 4 years. 4 years ago, 2015. None of this Pacquiao. This is not all one-sided. Pacquiao fought once in 2017, once in 2018. He's already fought this year. Maybe he comes back in November. I don't see that happening. I think it's see you next year, but to both those guys after this fight. You can tell me that I'm wrong, but empirically, my evidence to say that they only fight once a year is correct. They only fight once a year. Keith Thurman hasn't fought twice in a year since 2015. Manny Pacquiao hasn't fought twice in a year since 2016. So I don't think that fight's going to happen. I think this is their fight for this year. If you think I'm wrong, understand that that's just a belief. What I'm going off of is actual empirical evidence that they only fight once a year. You know, it's so I'm not. I want the fight to happen. I think it's an entertaining fight. I think Manny Pacquiao wins the fight. I think Manny Pacquiao outworks him, and I think it's not a great attractive fight. I think it's kind of like what you saw in the Broner fight, except Thurman has a little more success. But I think Pacquiao does enough to outwork him. I don't think anyone gets in serious trouble. I think, you know, both guys have moments, and it's a really, really, really close competitive 50-50 fight, and I think Pacquiao just edges out a bit. So I want this fight to happen. You guys know I'm not a Keith Thurman fan. I want to see Keith Thurman lose, and I think Pacquiao could be the guy that beats him. Obviously, Bud would beat him. Spence could probably most likely beat him, and I think Pacquiao is at least 50-50 to beat him, and I would lean slightly towards Pacquiao, so call it 52-48 in favor of Pacquiao. So, it's not that I don't want to see the fight. I do want to see the fight. Just realistically, I don't think it's going to happen because not a guy fights more than once a year. At some point, I would think one of those guys, both having the WBA belt, would have to take a mandatory. Although it is WBA, so you never know. They might just start making new belts. Manny Pacquiao also wants to fight Floyd Mayweather. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but it is worth mentioning because Keith Thurman thinks it's going to happen. I just don't think Keith Thurman wants to fight anybody fairly decent. I think he wants to fight the Jose Lopez's of the world. And if that fight does get made, if Mayweather Pacquiao does get made, that'll be it. That'll be it. Pacquiao will take that fight. He'll make another $100 million, and I would imagine he'd be done with the sport of boxing at 40, 41 years old at that point. So, you know, I don't think Pacquiao's going to fight Thurman, although it could get made. I could be surprised. I think Pacquiao's only going to fight once more next year, and that'll be it. I don't think it's going to be against Keith Thurman, because I think Keith Thurman probably, one of them will take a mandatory. Keith Thurman didn't fight for over almost 2 years, and now he's fighting Jose Lopez. So to think that he's going to just start fighting good fighters all of a sudden, I mean, it's a little outrageous. But I want to move on. Sean Porter versus Yordenis Ugas is finally set for March 9th in Carson, California. I want to break this down because this is cherry picking gone wrong for Sean Porter. And I like Sean Porter. I think he's a good fighter. I love watching his fights. I've never not been entertained by a Sean Porter fight. He's a great guy. He's one of the good guys in boxing. That being said, I'm going to pick Ugas in this one. I think Ugas is too versatile. I think his power carries at 147. I think he's faster. I think he's more skilled. He's more versatile. He's got better movement. He switch hits. He fights both conventional and southpaw. He does too many things. He does too many things well. And I know he had some losses at 140, but he hasn't had any losses at 147. He's put together an excellent streak of wins. He's beaten some really, really top. Really, I don't want to say top. He beat Delarme on real short notice, and Delarme fought Jesse Vargas to a draw. He beat Jamal James, who's a top guy, a top contender. He's got some good wins. Roy Robinson. He's put together a string of good victories. So, Ugas is cherry picking gone wrong. This is not a guy anyone wants to fight. And I think, Porter is going to lose his shot of getting a Thurman rematch or getting a Errol Spence fight, and he's going to lose this fight. Now, maybe he should get a rematch with Ugas, and maybe he can win it. I just think that Porter's looking past him. I don't think he's taking Ugas seriously. And I think Ugas is better than Danny Garcia. I do. I think if Ugas fought Garcia, Ugas would win that fight too. So, and Porter struggled. I don't want to say struggled, but that was a very, very competitive fight he had with Garcia, in which some people incorrectly think Garcia won the fight. Lots of people think that incorrectly. Ugas is better than him. He is. He's a better boxer than him. Garcia hits harder, but Ugas is a better fighter in the ring. He does more things well. Garcia is kind of like a jack of all trades. Garcia is kind of like a queen or a king of most trades. So, this is not an easy fight. I'm gonna pick the upset. I'm gonna call the upset in this one. Terrence Crawford is fighting Amir Khan. That is official for Madison Square Garden. I'm not going to spend too much time breaking this fight down because, look, Bud is the best fighter in the world. No one on the PBC side will fight him. None of them. Will someone on the PBC side, Keith, Sean, Errol, any of you guys, please step up and fight Terrence Crawford, because this is he wants to fight the PBC guys. He wants to fight everyone out there. He called Errol Spence out. He wants to fight Danny Garcia. He wants to fight the biggest names out there. They're not going to fight him. Let's be real. It's, the PBC outside of Terrence Crawford has a stranglehold on the 147-pound division. They have like almost a monopoly on it. They're not going to risk losing it. It's not even a risk. They're going to lose to Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is the best fighter in the world. You can call me a fanboy. I'm not being a fanboy. Objectively, he's the best fighter in the world. Like I say, LeBron James is the best basketball player in the world. I'm not being a LeBron James fanboy. I'm just stating what's objectively true. Objectively, Terrence Crawford is the best fighter in the world. So they're not going to risk fighting him. They're just not going to. So you're not going to get Terrence Crawford versus those guys, and he goes the next best route. What I'm hoping for is Kell Brook looks really good in whoever he fights next, and that they can make that fight happen, which I think that fight can be made. I think a Terrence Crawford versus Kell Brook fight can be made, and I think it's a good fight. So what I'm saying is Crawford's going to win. I think Amir Khan wins the first round with his hand speed, but after that, I think Crawford just outclasses him and breaks him down, gets a knockout around round 7. I think it's a one-sided fight after the first round. I think the first round's close and competitive. I'll give it to Khan because, again, it is hard to win rounds against Khan. He is a master boxer. He's got terrific hand speed, but he did not look good in his last fight against Vargas. Now it was a fight, even though he was knocked down, he won pretty much every other round. But Crawford's a different level. Crawford can outbox him in a straight-up boxing match. He's probably the one guy that can. And obviously, he'll eventually catch him. Crawford's power is absolutely fine at 147. It's solid, respectable to very good power. So, again, after the first round, I expect Terrence Crawford just to outclass him and finally catch him and end him, I say, in the 7th round. Spence, Mikey, Garcia. I'm so against this fight. This is such a lose-lose fight for Errol Spence. If he wins, he beats a lightweight. If he loses, he loses to a lightweight. That ain't good. This is a lose-lose, just like I said, Canelo versus Errol Spence. When that fight was when Oscar was trying to bring Errol over to Golden Boy, and he said he'd throw him Canelo. That's a terrible fight, too, for the same reason. For Canelo, it's a lose-lose fight. If Canelo beats Errol Spence, so what? He beat a welterweight. If he loses to him, you just lost to a welterweight, bro. And that ain't good. You're a juiced up, roided up middleweight, and you just lost to a welterweight. Not a good look. That fight would be stupid for Canelo. This fight is stupid for Errol Spence. But we know how this fight ends. I think it's fairly competitive. I think through the first couple of rounds, you see Mikey boxing well, timing him, landing the jabs, landing the right hand, giving him a good scrap. Errol Spence is getting to him and really breaking him down. By the 5th, 6th round, I think he starts to break him down to the body. By the 7th round, I'm going to say he knocks him out. So I'm going to pick Errol Spence by 7th round knockout. In a fight where he might still be behind on the scorecards because Mikey did do well in the first 4 rounds, let's say. And then the body shots and the physical strength of Errol Spence finally breaks him down. And Danny Garcia versus Adrian Granados. Danny really hasn't done anything at 147. He beat a totally shot Paulie. He beat Ghost Guerrero. Let's be real, he lost to Lamont Peterson. Let's be 100% about that. And then he beat Samuel Vargas. That's not a great resume at 47. Now he's got a great resume at 40, and I'm a Danny Garcia fan. I just don't think he's I didn't think Hatton was any good when he went from 140 to 147. I know Zab was undisputed at 147 somehow, but he should have stayed at 140. I think Garcia is one of those guys that should have stayed at 140. This Granados is no foregone conclusion. I do believe he will get the decision over Granados because everyone seems to get the decision over Granados. But this kid is Chicago tough. He's going to make it a scrap, and he will win rounds, and will make this thing wildly interesting on the cards. I just have a feeling that after this fight goes down, we're all going to be back here saying, well, who really won that fight? Did Danny get the benefit of the doubt? Which he did against Peterson, and he did against Mauricio Herrera. Now, people are going to argue the other way, too, and say he deserved the fight over Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. No, he didn't. He lost both those fights. He lost both those fights clearly. You have to discredit everything Sean Porter did to give Danny Garcia that fight. Now, there were some close rounds for sure, but Porter won 8 rounds, 7 to 8 rounds in that fight. If you're not being completely objective, if you're being subjective, and you really want to score rounds for Garcia, I mean, you really have to want to do that. But if you just look at this fight objectively, Sean Porter did more than Danny Garcia. He did. He won the fight. The last big name I want to get into is Omar Figueroa, another wild card. He destroyed Robert the Ghost Guerrero and DeMarco at 47, but has only fought once in 3 years. I know it's pretty unbelievable. For a guy with that talent, that young, he was a lightweight champ, moved up, could no longer make those weights, and he became a full-grown welterweight. That's where he is now. If his stuff is together, if he has himself right physically, mentally, and his legal worries are worked out, he's a problem at 147. He's a problem for anyone in the welterweight division. We saw that in the Guerrero fight. Think about it this way. Keith, Floyd, Swift Garcia weren't able to stop Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Omar Figueroa floored Guerrero over and over and over again and ended him, destroyed him in just 3 rounds, retired him. He's real. He's real. He's a real threat. He's a bowler inside. He reminds me a little bit of Carl Frost, where his boxing ability from the outside is a little bit better than you may think. And then inside, he can absolutely maul you to death. He can make a run in this division. I'd like to see who he fights next. I'd like to see him fight Sean Porter. I think that would be an interesting fight. I think a fight with him and Errol Spence would be an interesting fight. Old Texas and North Texas versus the Valley matchup. That'd be a great shootout. He's an interesting fight and a challenge. You guys are going to see how good this guy is. But, can he stay focused and can he keep himself out of trouble? He has to stay in the ring. Like I said, he's fought once in 3 years. It's been 1.5 years since he last fought. And he took 1.5 years off before that, or almost 2 years off before that. I mean, he has not been active. He's not been in the ring. His brother, Brandon Figueroa, is carrying that name right now. But they are almost a good fighter. Almost going to be trouble for anyone. And I'm looking forward to see how the fight with John Molina should be fun as long as it lasts. I say it lasts about 6 rounds. And Figueroa gets him out of there. But I'm interested to see if Figueroa can keep himself out of trouble, keep himself clean, keep himself in the ring, because he can be a real threat in this division. And I just want to briefly touch on a couple other welterweights, because the division is absolutely loaded. And I just want to go over the other names we don't mention as much. David Benavidez is really good. I think he can give a lot of those guys a run for those money. The names that we've mentioned, the Sean Porters, the Keith Thurmans, Danny Garcia, I think he can give those guys a lot of troubles. He's got good footwork. He's 6 foot tall. He's highly athletic. I want to see him against some B-level guys in 2019. Now, he's on the top-ranked side, so it's going to be tough. But I would love to see him fight a guy like Jamal James. I would love to see him fight somebody like that. And I'd like to see him back in the world title mix by 2020. I think he can definitely compete with those guys. I think he has a couple of issues to work out, but he was competitive with Crawford, who's the pound-for-pound king. To a degree, for a while he was competitive. He's better than he'll do better than Khan. does against Crawford, right? Like we'll look at the knockout that Bud scores over Khan, and we'll say that Benavidez put up a better challenge. I'm not sure where Benavidez goes after this, but I'd like to see him just use 2019 as a get back year, to use Keith Thurman's terms, and then he should be fighting for a world title in 2020. Then I want to get into Saddam Ali. Another wild card. He has so much talent. Speed, great combinations, but he just isn't that good when it all comes down to it. It's like, you know, it's one of those things where the parts are greater than the sum with this kid. He's with Eddie, and he may get a shot at Brooke or something, but he has never really put it all together. He hasn't lived up to his potential as an Olympian. He looked good, kind of, sort of, against Mauricio Herrera, and Mauricio Herrera beat Danny Garcia. That fight was back in December, and I would like to see him get a rematch against Jesse Vargas. I think that would be a good gauge. You know, again, over that side, if it's not Cal, I don't, you know, all of those guys are over on the PBC side. I don't know who they're going to put him in with. Jamal James was a big-time prospect, a blue chipper, before he got annihilated by Ugas, which is a bad loss, but not as bad as we originally thought. If I'm right, and Ugas pulls the upset against Porter, that loss won't be that bad at all. Jamal James has bounced back nicely. He put up together 4 solid wins since losing to Ugas, and that's Jojo Dan, Abel Ramos, and they're not in that order. I don't remember the order. Diego Chavez and Montez. He's 6'2" and has a 70-inch reach. He's going to be problems. Just Eddie can crack, even though his knockout ratio doesn't really suggest that he can, but he can crack. I would like to see him get a shot at one of the premier PBC welterweights. How about a showdown with Swift Garcia? That would be a good fight, right? Like, you guys would like that, but I would like that too. So both those guys win. If Jamal James and Danny Garcia win, let's match them together. Let's match them together. The next welterweight I want to talk about real briefly is Rashidi Ellis. This is the one. This guy is the future star. I can see him becoming a world champ, but he's going to have to go through an organization's ranking system, right? No one's going to want to fight him just because, right? He doesn't really carry the name, and he's a really dangerous, really fast, really skilled fighter. He's going to have to work his way up. He's going to have to work himself into a mandatory position. He needs to drastically step up the level of competition. His best win ever was over Eddie Gomez, a first-round destruction. You know, over a decent challenger, but that was over 2 years ago. I mean, Golden Boy needs to step this kid up. He needs to step up the pace and step on the gas with this kid. The speed, the skill, he's got everything you'd want in a welterweight fighter. He's 5'9", 72-inch reach. He's everything you'd want in a welterweight fighter. This guy's got. So they're going to have to step this kid up and make a move with him. I think he's 25 or 26 now. You know, the time is right for this kid. On the last welterweight I want to touch on, Ajivis Kavazlakis. I think he's good. He's got a good aggressive style, and he's got a style where he's a good boxer, puncher, or stalker, right? Like, you know, there's a combination style in this guy. He can fight in a few different ways. I just don't think he has the skills to deal with any of those names that we've mentioned. Like, I don't think he beats Porter. He doesn't beat Thurman. He doesn't Brooke. He doesn't really beat any of those. He definitely doesn't beat Crawford. He doesn't really beat any of those guys. I mean, I'm not to say he's not competitive with those guys, but he's not good enough to beat any of those guys. However, fortunately, being with Top Rank, he may not have that problem. He probably won't have to worry about getting a shot against any of the top welterweights besides Terrence Crawford. They're priming him to fight Bud. That's what Bob wants. That's obvious. Here's the problem. He's 30. He isn't getting any better at this stage of his career. If he isn't ready for the prime time, then he's never going to be. Like, if he's not ready now, he's not going to be. And it's not a knock on him. He's a B fighter. He'll beat everyone except for the A fighters. And you want to put him in the ring with the A fighters, he's going to lose. He's just not athletic enough. There's nothing that he does in a spectacular fashion. So, you know, he's the last guy I want to talk about because you're going to hear his name. Maybe he does get a shot with Bud. I don't know. But that's a wrap for the welterweight division. Let me know what you guys think of my analysis and breakdown of this division. For Friday, check Hook, a very special edition, the welterweight edition. This is 3D Boxing signing off, saying thank you and God bless.
Enjoy 3D Boxing vlog videos? Show us some love by clicking the like button. Don't miss a tweet, post, story, or video. 3dboxingblog.com is also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hit the subscribe button now to stay inside the ring.